Now, admittedly, industrial policy may not sound like the sexiest topic, but it is the foundation of all of our lives and economies, from manufacturing to the things we use in our everyday lives to critical infrastructure, energy, technology, job creation, economic development, and even national security and defense. Without constantly evolving industrial policies, we don't have modern states. So I'm very pleased that we have such a diverse stage of panelists and speakers joining us who can speak on this topic from a wide range of backgrounds. And I would like to kick us off with some current events. I'll begin with Minister Khalifa, and I want to hear from all of you. So the Trump administration's launching of tariffs and upending of global trade is roiling markets and causing quite significant uncertainty globally. What is your approach to this, and how is your country reacting in this new era?
Thank you, Natasha. It's a pleasure to be here today, and pleasure to be at the World Government Summit. I'd like to thank the United Arab Emirates, the Ministry of Economy, for this wonderful event and this economic forum, and this esteemed panel that it's a privilege to be a part of. Bahrain has been an island on a trade route for 4 millennia. We have been at the nexus of global trade for over 4,000 years, and therefore we believe in openness in trade at our core. And that is something that is a firm belief in the Kingdom of Bahrain. It is clear that the multilateral institutions that were all post-World War II constructs are in need of an update, are in need of a revision. His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, in his address at the UN General Assembly in September, called for that reform. And I think what we're seeing today in terms of discussions that are happening around tariffs and around other issues regarding global trade are an indicator that we need to update that infrastructure, need to update those arrangements, and then look at where the trade surpluses are, where the trade deficits are, what's causing them, and rebalance the global trade to achieve the aims of all parties. And that can be done in a way that is conducive to growth, that is conducive to stability, and will lead to further stability in the world. So I think one of the things that we need to look at the core of the issue is what is causing those statements to come out. And it is an imbalance of trade and an imbalance with regards to the trade partners that is the result of outdated post-World War II constructs.
Thank you. And Minister Keldo, what are your thoughts?
Yes, thank you very much. And also from my side, I really appreciate all the hard work that summit organizations and local government has done. It has been an excellent few days for me. But talking about potential trade tariffs, first of all, as already mentioned, that free trade is an essential part of rule-based world order, and if there's things to need to be redecided, to talk through, then of course we are ready to do that. But for European Union and US, we are close allies and really good partners. We definitely don't want trade tension. If there will be some tariffs, then we definitely have to think through. We don't want to set our companies in an advantage situation. So we definitely will secure our market, but no trade tension between allies is not needed. Mostly we would like to find common ground, common interest with the US, and I feel that with free trade and common interest, both, so European Union, Estonia in there, and US can actually benefit from that.
And Minister Kudratov, what are your thoughts?
Thank you. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank the government of UAE, Minister Al-Mari, who is present here, for his dedication and support and excellent arrangement of this summit. Going back to the question, Uzbekistan, being in the heart of Central Asia, haven't faced yet any immediate consequences of the actions taken by the US administration. But overall, in general, Uzbekistan is taking systemic measures to diversify its trade relations. For example, we have increased our trade with European Union more than 2 times over the last 3 years. This is because of the GSP Plus arrangement that Uzbekistan achieved as a recognition of the reforms in the country. We are also taking systemic measures to develop trade relations with GCC, especially with United Arab Emirates. Over the last 5 years, the trade has increased 3 times. So we are taking steps in order to make sure that we do not depend on any single market, have diversified network of our trade partners. And of course, talking about trade, we're also paying priority attention to our neighbors, to Central Asia, because the market itself is big. It's more than 80 million people now. And we believe that these efforts, along with the accession of WTO, that we are planning to be a full-fledged member, hopefully in 2026, will also allow us to have diversified network of trade partners.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may add, because it's really important to know publicly and globally that yes, US is the biggest trade and investment partner for the European Union, and there has been talks about the trade being out of balance. If we're only looking at the goods, yes, then the deficit for the US is around $2 billion. But if we take into include services, then it's actually the other way around. And if we actually into account investments also, then the trade is almost balanced. So if we're talking about trade, that means goods, services, investments. So we actually have to find the common ground, as I emphasized. Otherwise, if we're talking about only one, or if we're talking about only goods, only services, because the world today is so complex, and we actually have to find common ground, common interest, where both US, EU, or in globally, countries can be beneficiary from that.
Absolutely. And I wanted to talk about the challenges that each of your countries face quite uniquely. And it is really up to the government to drive industrial policies, especially when it comes to economic diversification. Now, Minister Khalifa, many people think Bahrain's economy is overwhelmingly reliant on oil, but it's actually not. The oil sector makes up just 16% of Bahrain's economy, down from 40% 2 decades ago. And actually, it's financial services, I believe, that is the largest contributor to your economy at about 18%. So Bahrain has goals to increase its FDI and has its own Vision 2030. Could you tell me about your specific FDI targets and how you aim to compete for FDI in a region where your neighbors with Saudi Arabia and the UAE? Is this a challenge, and how do you make Bahrain stand out in this environment?
Thank you, Natasha. And yes, the Kingdom of Bahrain's well-diversified economy is really the result of policies that have been adopted for a number of years. And with the establishment of the Economic Development Board in 2002, chaired by His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, the effort to ensure that we are growing the non-oil sectors in a big way was given priority. Today, the financial services sector in the Kingdom of Bahrain is the largest sector. And we continue to grow a number of priority sectors in the kingdom, including manufacturing, logistics, tourism, ICT and tech. And the way in which we do it is important. There are 3 factors that we need to focus on. First is the people, and the people are, the human capital is our most valuable resource in the Kingdom of Bahrain. We have taken that focus, and we need to ensure that with the people and the human resource, that it is well tooled for the sectors and industries that we're looking to attract. Secondly is the infrastructure. We need to ensure that the infrastructure is up to date, not just up to date with regards to the opportunities today, but also up to date with regards to capitalizing on the opportunities of tomorrow. And finally, the rules and regulations. The rules and regulations need to be conducive to attracting growth, to fostering growth in those sectors in which we're looking at. So the people, the infrastructure, and the regulations. And when it comes to the things that we have done that have really made a difference when FDI is coming in, it's been really a focus on getting the investors to see those elements and ensuring that as a small country, we are able to have a two-way conversation. a two-way conversation in which we are able to deliver to the investor, be it a domestic investor, be it a regional investor or an international investor, what they need. And once you've done all of that, let the government get out of the way, because you really need the private sector to find its connections, move forward in a sustainable manner. And yes, we ensure that we have sovereign wealth funds across the region that are deploying, but we're not aiming to be the people on the field scoring the goals. We want to be the people creating the fertile environment for others and for the private sector to take the ball up the field and score the goals themselves. And our job, even as sovereign wealth funds, is to catalyze those investments and serve as catalysts for further investment. We like using the phrase that we'll use our sovereign wealth fund to plant the first tree in what will become a forest, but then the private sector has to come in and take care of the rest of the forest, and really the government's role is to provide the fertile ground in which it will grow. You mentioned the regional landscape. Overall, the GCC as an economic unit today is about $2.3 trillion in size, estimated to go conservatively to $3 trillion by 2030, and very conservatively to over $6 trillion by 2050. This is value added for all. All the growth we see in any of the GCC countries is positive to us as another GCC country. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's diversification efforts today is the main driver of growth in the GCC, period. The continued economic growth in the United Arab Emirates is another driver. Together, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates represent 75% of GCC GDP. And Bahrain is a service center with deep ties into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, deep ties into the United Arab Emirates, is benefiting from any growth that happens in those economies. So sometimes people talk about this and make it sound like it's a zero-sum game, but it's not. All economic growth within the GCC is really growing the pie for everybody. And as a services economy, as a service center that is quick and nimble in its ability to adapt and change and adopt new policies, Bahrain is very well positioned to add to that growth, service that growth, and benefit from that growth that we see in the region.
Indeed, a rising tide lifts all ships, doesn't
Exactly.
it? It's fantastic. And so on the topic of challenges, Minister Keldo, Estonia is a very small country, 1.3 million people, I believe, with a very large and intimidating neighbor to the east. What is Estonia doing in terms of its industrial policy to ensure its national defense and to ensure that there are enough engineers and STEM professionals to keep growing your vital industrial sectors? How does the small country manage this?
Wow, such a complex question. It takes me 15 minutes to explain all what we're doing in our defense sector, what we're doing in our economy. I try to be short. First of all, what Estonia has been already doing. We are partners and allies in the European Union. We are partners and allies in NATO. And of course, in recent years, we have put more money into our defense than ever. So whoever is our neighbor doesn't think to do a bad decision and look towards us. That's the first thing, of course. The second is when we are helping Ukraine, we are helping Ukraine throughout our defense industry. We're seeing, because of the geopolitical situation in Europe, but to be honest, all over the world, Europe has waken up, to be honest. And we see that European Union, one crucial strategic area is our defense. So for example, let's take Estonia. We have started public equity fund, defense fund, where new startups, defense startups can actually apply for money to have new technologies, new innovative ammunition, whatever. And we are in talks inside the European Union what the European Union has to do as a whole, because it's not only an Estonian or Eastern European country's problem. We want security, we want to give stability to the whole region, that those kind of mistakes are not making again. So we are doing a lot how to find new potential economic areas where the economy can grow. But as I like to say, that the foundation for economy to grow is the stability, the reassurance what we are giving, securing our citizens, securing our self-defense, and securing the European Union as a whole. And of course, NATO as a defense alliance has a big part on it. If we're talking about mathematics, STEMs, of course, the key element is investments in education, because without education, you can't have the results. We were just discussing yesterday what to do if you have different e-governmental services, how can you export them, how different countries can absorb them into their society. The first thing is you need a really educated people. Let's take for example, for Estonia, already in elementary school, primary school, young children are learning a little bit about coding, programming, usage of technology. Adults have lifelong learning with different IT academy programs, because their jobs have to be competitive as well in the job market. So it's a really, really complex system. And because of that, what we have done in the past 20 plus years, I have had the possibility to share the extraordinary milestone, what we achieved at the end of the last year. From the end of the last year, all Estonian governmental services are now e-services, 100%. As I'm joking, the last one was divorce. Maybe I don't know if it was intentional or not, but we like to say, but even if you can make those decisions at ease, you don't have to make it hastily. So even if you're making this decision online, you still have the 30-day period to rethink it, because it doesn't mean if the system is easy to access and easy to use, you don't have to do your decisions hastily. So, and there are a lot more, but I don't want to take any more time at the moment, and give the other panelists a chance to talk as well.
Wow, electronic divorce. I think that's pretty unique. And Minister Kudratov, I wanted to move to Uzbekistan again. So Uzbekistan has the Soviet legacy of being very strong in the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, math, but also has had to deal with the Soviet legacy of corruption, heavy bureaucracy, state-controlled industry. I know that Uzbekistan is trying to shift away from a resource-dependent economy to one that involves more manufacturing and things like free zones. And Uzbekistan is also now Central Asia's fastest-growing economy. Could you tell me about your country's FDI goals and strategy specifically, and how you're working to address these challenges?
Thank you very much for this question. I would not repeat some of the factors that was mentioned by Bahrain Minister. It also applies to Uzbekistan. It's a human capital, it's infrastructure, it's regulation. It's all relevant to Uzbekistan, and actions are made in these areas as well. In terms of STEM education, what we are focusing on is to develop further the base that we have, and plus introduce foreign partners, key players, so they contribute for the education in Uzbekistan. We have attracted 30 plus foreign universities who established their branches in Uzbekistan. So for example, to support our automotive industry, we attracted the Torino Polytechnic University from Italy. In IT, we have the best Korean IT university in Ha, who is operating in Tashkent. We have last year launched Arizona State University in Uzbekistan. So actions are taken in order to make sure that our industries, our investors who are coming to Uzbekistan, they have enough workforce, qualified workforce, to meet their demand. With the support of United Arab Emirates, by the way, we have launched a very unique program. It's called 1 Million Coders program. So within a couple of years, we managed to not only to reach 1 million people, but we exceeded. We have 1.2 million youngsters in Uzbekistan who are actively contributing to the growth of economy. Just two figures. 2017, when we started reforms, the volume of software exports from Uzbekistan was around $30 million. Last year, we reached $1 billion.
Oh, wow.
And by 2030, we are targeting to reach $5 billion of software exports out of Uzbekistan.
Congratulations.
Of course, this is because of the partnerships they have with the friends in UAE we have, and we are achieving that result. Of course, we are also taking steps to create necessary infrastructure, like economic zones in each region that are managed by private companies from Turkey, from China, from Hungary, from Malaysia. So this is the the practice which help us to create an environment which fosters the FDIs and economic development, industrial development in the country. I know we are running out of time.
Yeah, we've got about 4 minutes, so I have one last question. Oh, sorry, were you finished?
No. I have a lot. I can talk a lot, but again, the time is limited, so I'll stop here.
Well, not to worry at all. My last question, actually, if I could get sort of a lightning round from everyone. We've talked about challenges and we've talked about the world's uncertain future, but I want to ask each one of you, and I'll start with His Excellency from Bahrain, and we can go down the line. Before we close, perhaps just a minute each, when you look at your own populations, your broader regions, the world's emerging technologies, what gives you the most hope for the future?
The strength of the human capital we have. And when I sit and discuss with younger people, and I always say when things get heavy, when you've got a lot on your mind, go sit with people who are 25 years old. And when I have discussions with the youth in Bahrain about their ideas about the future, I really see that on a global level, they're not just competitive, but they're exceeding. And I say to them, when people ask me about is there optimism, I say, you go back to previous generations in the region. They were at a disadvantage in terms of education. They were at a disadvantage in terms of infrastructure. They were at a disadvantage in terms of health services versus the rest of the world. And they still delivered and built, and go around and walk around Dubai and you're going to see a global city that's succeeding on many levels. You go around the region and you'll see wonderful countries with strong services and bright futures. And today, the people that we're depending on to build the future have not been at a disadvantage to the rest of the world. And so they have to exceed what we're seeing, and that's what gives me hope.
Exciting. Minister Keldo.
Yes, I will not be original here. Of course, the new younger generation rising up and actually wanting to change the world, because already mentioned that investing in education is crucial. In Estonia, we see that our education throughout the PISA tests that are made is one of the most competitive and top education in the world. And if we combined it with the ICT sector and the knowledge what we have had in the past, and we look forward to the future where we see that we can be a land of smart industry, where we actually combine the knowledge and the know-how of ICT and smart industry, that will give us a really good competitiveness and advantage in the global level as well. And of course, we are not shy about sharing the information and the knowledge with our good allies and partners all around the world.
Thank you.
For Uzbekistan, I fully agree with my colleagues. It is about the people. Nation. We are the most populous country in Central Asia, 37.5 million. Median age is 29 years old, 60% of population below 30. So it's a good driver for the economic growth of the country, and priority attention that we are giving is to have educated generation, and the asset of Uzbekistan, the most attractive factor of Uzbekistan is its people.
Thank you so much, and well, on that uplifting note, that wraps us up. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to our fantastic panelists for this excellent discussion.
Thank you very much.